your vocal chain right here?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm just gonna go up like this because I got to do this first.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Last time we did the drums for this song. Here's what they sound like, just as a bit of a recap. So yeah, last time we pretty much just put on, if you can see over here, we just put on some EQ, very basic cleanup stuff, light compression, all that stuff. The remaining things we have to do that we didn't get to do in the last stream was processing on the drum bus. So that's what we're going to do right now. So the first thing we're going to add is a little bit of bus compression, if I can find some. Last time we used this is it, the Ozone 10 compression. So I'm going to go ahead and just dial this in, and then I'll explain what I'm doing after. So just some pretty basic stuff. I didn't do actually anything too crazy, but I was just adjusting attack and release. And if you guys noticed, I squashed. One technique that I like to do with compression is just squash quite a bit of it. Like we're getting about -7 dB of compression, and then play with the attack and the release until I like the way that it sounds. But this is more just to like tame things and give a bit of character. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of saturation. I don't know what kind of saturation plugins we have on here. Let's see what this is. Oh, I got to activate it. Okay, never mind. We can try this out. We're not adding too much saturation. It's more just to like get the high end going a little bit and add some more harmonics like we talked about last time. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. All right, so let's just give in a little bit in the high end. So a lot of you are probably wondering, why didn't I just get an EQ and boost the high end? Well, what I like to do is add things that add color, and saturation is a good way of doing that, especially in the vocals, which we're going to do as well when I'm done this real quick. But instead of boosting it with an EQ that doesn't really add any other harmonics, you can use a saturator, which, even if you can see right here, I mean, I've never used this before, but it's actually kind of a good demonstration of what's happening. So you can adjust how many of the harmonics you want, I guess, like the percentage of how much you want of it. If you remember from, like, I think it was like the very first stream we did, we saw that a single sine wave, when put through saturation, can add multiple other sine waves. So it's kind of doing the same thing. I'm going to play it before and after just so you guys can hear what I'm talking about. You'll notice that it's a lot more brighter in the top end. So yeah, it's a bit brighter. Again, very subtle, but things don't always have to be super dramatic when you're mixing. We're kind of just cleaning stuff up and making stuff fit together, and that's it. Okay, the last thing we got to do is a parallel process bus. So for those of you who don't know what parallel processing is basically when you grab a signal from your drum bus and you link it to another thing, and then you put compression on it and you absolutely squash the heck out of it. And then you kind of blend this signal. If this is the squash signal, you're going to blend it back in with your drum bus. What that does is it reduces all of like the dynamic range. So it's just like a flat signal. So if I kind of zoom in here, just to show you guys an example. See how we have like these peaks over here, and this is what's known as like dynamic range. But imagine we completely cut this off to the point where it's literally just this part, and there's no like transient. So basically what that does is it adds more volume, but it doesn't really get in the way of the dynamics. So when we're mastering later, we don't have to worry about those peaks kind of hitting the limiter, and then it makes things sound like really weird. So I'm going to quickly set this up, and then we shall go. Okay, needs activation. All right. Oh. All right. Hold on. Okay. So we literally just lost everything that we just did. So let me quickly I'm gonna put a note and say, I'll just do this later. And Oh, I should probably not have this linked to the hi-hat. Okay, one sec. All right. Okay, I'm gonna try and do it on this compressor, and then we'll get going to the next bit. All right, yeah, so it works kind of something like that, and then you'll just blend it back in with the mix. Okay, so I'll show you before and after. Okay, and that's it for that. I'm gonna have to fix the drum bus after, but it's all good. So, oh, one last thing. I'm gonna name it real quick, just so I know what it is. So yeah, just a quick recap. You send a signal in here, and then you just compress the shit out of it. And then what you actually could do is get rid of the low end. Probably about 100 something hertz, doesn't really matter. As long as you get rid of that low end and maybe just a bit of the high end. Actually, no, we'll keep the high end in. Why not? The low end, we just don't want it to clash later. So yeah, you kind of blend this in if you find midway. Like if you're working on a session that has like a lot of files like this one, you'll use this parallel bus. If your drums are kind of like fading, you can just boost this up and it'll kind of add some more volume to them. All right, now we're going to do acoustic guitar. Wherever it is. Oh, it's lost in this whole thing. Okay, I gotta go find it. Let me save real quick. So, okay, here's one of them. Oops. Where is it? Okay, I just want to make sure I got all of them. Yeah, as you can tell, this is a pretty big session, so that parallel bus is gonna come in handy later. Bridge 2, I think that's it. Yeah, okay, that's it. Okay. We're going to start with the guitars. So if you notice, I should probably also turn these guys on too. All right. So if you notice something, there are two different guitars. 1 second. Okay, so there's two different guitars. So there's the verse guitar, which sounds like this. Or maybe I'll skip a little bit more in. Like nice and calm. And then there's the chorus guitar. Which they're at the same volume, and they pretty much sound, again, the same in terms of the volume. But when it comes to like acoustic guitars in big mixes, I like to separate them into two different tracks so we can process them differently. Because if I process the verse guitar too loud, then I'm gonna have to adjust everything else to kind of fit that. And then by the time it gets to the chorus, maybe things won't all line up the way I'd like them to. So with stuff like this, I just like to separate it, make it nice and easy, where I've got the acoustic verse, which has different processing, and then the acoustic chorus, which its main goal is to cut through like all the elements. Because in the verse, there's not a whole lot going on. So we don't need, like for this guy, we're going to add like more compression and boost the volume and saturation and all this other stuff to make it stand out. But we don't need that in the verse because it already kind of stands out by itself with the limited elements. So for the first acoustic, we're going to link it to the mixer. So for those of you who don't know, we're going to double click and then click track, and then it links automatically over here. So yeah, for the first acoustic, we're going to just do some EQ. We're going to cut around 300 hertz, and then we're going to do some probably boosting. But again, we need to listen, and then we will make the decision from there. So I'm gonna put these in, and then I'll explain exactly why I did what I did. So if you can hear, it sounds a lot more thinner. And if I play without, you notice that there's a lot more buildup as opposed to with this on. So pretty much what I'm doing is I'm just getting rid of that low end, but not too much. If you notice, I wish I could make the curve a bit steeper. There are EQ plugins that can go from all the way over here and then like rise up like this. The reason I like to keep it like this as a slow descent is it's not like such a hard cut to where we're losing all of the low end, but it's more or less like, yes, we're cutting it, but when you adjust the curve like this, you're shaping it more than you are cutting it. So if you can see, the curve is still letting a little bit of this portion. I think that's around like 100 something, 200. it's still letting it come through, but just not as much. So you're almost attenuating it, but not like as opposed to doing a very hard cut. So just something to keep in mind when you're doing low cuts. And then just to emphasize what I'm trying to do, I'm just bringing up a little bit of 5-6K, just to like bring out that sparkliness of it. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add some more compression, because why not? Let's try. We'll try the fruity compressor, because everybody has this with FL. So we're gonna do regular, just 4:1 ratio. And then the main goal I'm going with this is to just smoothen things out. This compressor doesn't really add any color or anything, so this is just more like smoothening the signal. So I'm gonna dial this in, and then we'll come right back. So yeah, again, just very subtle things. I'll play before and after. So before. I'm more or less smoothing things out. Also, I kind of want to emphasize real quick that everything I'm doing right now, the reason it's so subtle is because I'm not hearing all the elements of the mix. Then we'll start making more drastic changes, and maybe we'll do some heavier compression where I'm adjusting the gain. Like if you noticed when I was doing this, I took some out, and then I just put 3 dB back in just to get it to the level that I was at, just as like a cleanup thing. And then when we hear all the elements together, then we'll start making like drastic mixing decisions. So as far as right now, this is just basic stuff to get it sounding good on its own. But sounding good on its own and sounding good with everything else are two very different things. So I just think that's a very important point. Also, do we have any questions in the chat? Dang, that's rough. I don't know when that was typed in. Probably when we crashed, but yeah. I'll give everybody a minute to put in questions if they have any. All right. We're gonna move on then. And again, then we're gonna add a little bit of distortion. We'll do some fruity distortion. Keep it all FL Studio based. Now, with this, again, I'm gonna do it super light. It's the same thing that I did with the drum bus. Just to add a little bit of that high end. We're gonna keep it super light though, because yeah, we don't want a distorted acoustic, especially in this song. But I'm gonna dial this in and then we'll be back. So if you noticed, it's kind of making it sound. It sounds a bit more aggressive, even though I didn't even really dial in that much, and I actually pulled back a lot of the pre. Um, as far as these controls go, I'm not too sure, but I'm playing with the pre knob because I know that it's basically just I know for a fact that the pre is the signal going, like, this is the volume before it enters. So I'm more or less pulling the volume back instead of boosting it. Um, but yeah, if you notice, it makes things sound thicker and it makes things sound a little bit like tighter and kind of more aggressive, but like not really. Like if you pay attention to the high end, then you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna do a before and after, and then we'll move on. All right, awesome. Okay, so now we're gonna do the chorus one, and I'm gonna just highlight this entire thing. So it's fairly nice. Actually, I am going to drop the volume of this just a little bit. Okay. Okay, so for this one, I'm thinking of doing the exact same EQ, to be honest. So in FL, if you want to copy presets from track to track on the mixer, you click this little arrow thing, it'll kind of come down. Then you click save preset as, and then if you left click and hold, you can see that I can drag the preset to the next thing. So I'm going to drag it right here, and then it's the exact same settings dialed in as this one. So yeah, that's a cool little hack, and so you don't have to do things multiple times. For the sake of what we talked about last time, if you do cuts in the same spot, sometimes you can phase shift stuff if you don't have like a linear phase button on your EQ, and I know these ones don't, so I'm just gonna like move it. I'm gonna just adjust it a tiny bit more for the cut. The boosts don't really matter, but it's more for the cuts. There's a whole thing behind why that is, but I don't really think it's that important. I think it's just more important that you know it's happening, or that you know it can happen. So just adjust accordingly. Never cut in the same spot. That's usually what I do, because sometimes it does phase shift stuff. So I'm gonna do this real quick, and then we'll come back and do the rest. So yeah, I just decided to change it up a little bit. So instead of a boost, like just like this, I just did a high shelf at 6K, just so everything gets boosted, because why not? And then yeah, I cut here, and then I just played a little bit with the bandwidth. So the bandwidth, basically what it does is it adjusts the steepness of this curve. So I'm just gonna keep it about here, and then that should be fine. Actually, we should boost this just a bit more, just because of the chorus. One sec. Yeah, so we can always revisit that, but I just thought that because things are going to get louder, we should probably boost this just a bit more. But again, we can always go back. This is just for getting it sounding good right now. Okay. Then we're going to add some compression again. I think I'm going to just do this vintage compressor. I've been liking it so far. And then we can just see what presets we got. Presets are always good. Just a quick way of doing things. No custom ones. Oh, any questions so far about what's going on? All right, we're gonna keep going then. I'm going to put this in. I'm also gonna play the drums just to see what it sounds like with the drums and blend it with that for now, because usually the drums are gonna be pretty loud. So if I can get a good balance going right now with the drums, then I'll be happy. Okay, let me dial this in. I'll be back. All right, so that sounds good. We're gonna do before and after of everything. I'm going to do a before and after, but I'm going to say that the changes that we did now are just gonna sound better because they're not louder, but they're gonna sound better because they are louder. Like there are actual changes, but because I boosted it 1.5, probably gonna actually maybe do a bit more than that. Like, yeah, that should be fine. Yeah, so I just want everybody to keep that in mind, that it will sound better, but louder doesn't necessarily mean better. So I'm gonna play before and after, and then we'll go from there. Okay. And then the last thing we got to do is the vocal. Now, my main thing with the vocal is I just need to see, oh, we got to link it first. So again, double click, track, and then 20. Actually, before we start the vocal, do we have any questions? Anything in the chat? Okay. I will check back in a bit. Okay. So for the vocal, the first thing we do with the vocal, I mean, I think I've already trimmed this because these are audio files from, actually, I don't think I have. But usually what you do with the vocal, like the first thing you'll do is you'll go and you'll see if there's any like plosives, like puss and tuss and s's. And I like to just cut them and then kind of bring them down. We're going to listen to just this part, and then if there are any, then we'll do that. But if there aren't, then we can always figure it out later. The main way, or the main reason you want to do that is because when you're compressing sometimes, those will come out more, and then it'll kind of just throw everything off. So it's always good to just tame them before you do any processing. So we're going to listen to this, and then I'll be right back.
Tear it down, build it. Tear it down, build it stronger than before. Forge it from fire and build it to endure. Steal your heart, if only for the fight. Tomorrow another day will come, I'm sure. Of this I'm sure. Of only this I'm sure.
So yeah, it sounds pretty good to me. So we're gonna go ahead and start doing stuff. Usually, what you would do is you would go through. You would listen to the entire vocal, and then what I like to do is make markers. Yeah, so you'd make markers, and then you'd go back and you'd just fix it up really quickly, and then that'd be it. But we're not gonna listen to the whole thing right now. Oh, we're also running out of time. So I'll try and speed things up a bit. Okay, so the first thing I like to do is DS. But I don't know if there's a DS around here. SPLD. Oh, RX10DS. I think this might work. Okay, yes, this looks like it is going to be fine. Okay, so yeah, a good place to start. Again, nothing is absolute in a mix, but it's good to have like starting frequencies. So a good place to start is around 6K. Usually, yeah, right about here. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and listen to that, and then I'll be right back.
Tear it down, build it stronger than before. Forge it from fire and build it to endure. Steal your heart, if only for the fight. Tomorrow another day will come, I'm sure. Of this I'm sure. Of only this I'm sure.
So if you can hear, it's really only getting like louder in
Tear it down.
This little part when like we got like S's and stuff. So that's good. I think that's all right. We'll leave it like that for now. Okay, then we got to compress very lightly. Here you would add a color compressor. For now, we've just been doing the vintage Ozone 10 one, so I think we'll stick with that. And then we're going to dial in some compression. We're going to keep it very, very light. Just 1 to 2 dB on the verse section of it. Actually, since this is the chorus, what we should do, now that I think about it, is we don't have time now, but I'm going to do it next time. We're going to split up the verse and the vocal. They're going to have the exact same effects, but they're going to have different compression. So right now we're just going to do the light compression just to tame things, and then when it comes to the compression, that we're going to add another compressor that will bring things into the mix better. But for now I'm going to dial this in and then we'll be back.
Tear it down, build it stronger than before. Forge it from fire and build it to endure. Steal your heart, if only for the fight. Tomorrow another day will come, I'm sure. Of this I'm sure. Of only this I'm sure. Tear it down, build it stronger than before. Forge it from fire and build it to endure. Steal your heart, if only for the fight. Tomorrow another day will come, I'm sure. Of this I'm sure. Of only this I'm sure.
So yeah, if you notice, it gets really aggressive when he's saying like tear it down, like right here.
Down.
Like when he says down.
Tear it down.
So, and then if we look back at the compressor, it's kind of taming that.
Tear it down.
We're getting about 4 to 5 dB of reduction, which is good, which is what we want. We want everything to be nice and close together. Most of the times, not too close, but yeah. And then we're going to EQ. To be honest, actually, I might EQ this before. We're gonna kind of go like this. If you can see what I'm doing in the right hand side, and we're gonna switch, and we're gonna see what sounds better. If it's better after or before. Usually, I say what you should do is if you're starting a mix. I should have done this. We should have EQ'd first. I think EQing first is always better because then you get rid of the things you don't want, and then with the compression you kind of boost the things that you do, because it brings out the things that you did in your EQ move that you don't want, and it'll kind of like bring out the things that you said in the EQ that you did want, if that makes any sense. Yeah. Okay, so we're just gonna dial in some EQ and then I'll be right back.
Tear it down, build it stronger than before. Forge it from fire and build it to endure. Steal your heart, if only for the fight. Tomorrow another day will come, I'm sure. Of this I'm sure. Of only this I'm sure. Tear it down, build it stronger than before. Forge it from fire and build it to endure. Steal your heart, if only for the fight. Tomorrow another day will come, I'm sure. Of this I'm sure. Of only this I'm sure. Tear it down, build it stronger than before. Forge it from fire and build it to endure.
So yeah, we're kind of again thinning things out, making it a bit brighter. I'll do a before and after of the EQ real quick.
Tear it down, build it stronger than before. Tear it down, build it stronger than before. Forge it from fire.
Okay, and now we're just gonna swap real quick, and I'm gonna see if there's a difference. If I don't notice a difference, I'm probably just gonna do the EQ before the compression.
Tear it down, build it stronger than before. Forge it from fire and build it to endure. Steal your heart, if only for the fight.
Okay, yeah, not really any difference. So I'm just gonna do before. Let's see. And then that's pretty much it for now. Let's see what it sounds like with everything. And then I'm thinking of just adding a bit of saturation and just to like bring it more up.
Tear it down, build it stronger than before. Forge it from fire and build it to endure. Steal your heart, if only for the fight. Tomorrow another day will come, I'm sure. Of this I'm sure. Of only this I tear it down, build it stronger than before. Shoulders will ache from the weight, but I don't mind. I wanna know what lives in the heart of man, deep inside the shadows of the soul. I wanna feel the sting of the morning light, bathing the hills and valleys in its gold. And I know that I put my world at stake. My shoulders will ache from the weight, but I don't mind. Tear it down, build it stronger than before. Forge it from fire and build it to endure. Steal your heart, if only for the fight. Tomorrow another day will come, I'm sure. Of this I'm.
Alright, so the last thing I'm going to do is just add a bit more distortion. Same reasoning for the guitars. Why I added the distortion is just to give it a bit more high end. And
Tear it down, build it stronger than before. Forge it from fire and build it to endure. Steal your heart, if only for the fight. Tomorrow another day will come, I'm sure. Of this I'm sure. Of only this I'm sure. Tear it down, build it stronger than before. Forge it from fire and build it to endure. Steal your heart, if only for the fight. Tomorrow another day will come, I'm sure. Of this I'm sure.
okay, I'm going to switch plugins real quick because I don't like the way that one's sounding on the vocal.
Tear it down, build it stronger than before. Forge it from fire and build it to endure. Steal your heart, if only for the fight. Tomorrow another day will come. Tear it down, build it stronger than before. Forge it from fire and build it to endure. Steal your heart, if only for the fight. Tomorrow another day will come, I'm sure. Of this I'm sure. Of only this I'm sure. Tear it down, build it stronger than before. Forge it from fire and build it to it. If the past is supposed to guide the hand, the future is built on grains of sand. Tear it down, build it stronger than before. Forge it from fire and build it.
So yeah, I'll just explain what I did real quick. So yeah, I was just I cranked this knob right here, which basically is either more or less, it's a very simple design, and then you've got these different presets, and I kind of just flipped through them while I was super high to see exactly what they do. And I liked how A sounded, so I kind of went with that. And then to kind of gain match, because this doesn't have no gain controls, I just put a free balance and I turned it down 3 dB just to like kind of blend it in with everything else. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll play the whole thing, everything that we did. Play from about right here to the chorus.
Tear it down. If the past is supposed to guide the hand, the future is built on grains of sand. Tear it down, build it stronger than before. Forge it from fire and build it to endure. Steal your heart, if only for the fight. Tomorrow another day.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm actually going to play it without any effects just to see everything that we've done so far. And this is what it sounds like with nothing on it.
Built on grains of sand. Tear it down, build it stronger than before. Forge it from fire and build it to endure. Steal your heart, if only for the fight. Tomorrow another day will come, I'm sure.
So as you can see, things are a bit brighter. They sound more together. And that's pretty much the goal with what we're doing. That's pretty much it. Any questions about anything that happened? I'll give everybody a minute. But thanks for coming out. Next stream, now that I think about it, we need to add some reverb effects and stuff to the guitars and stuff, but that'll be very quick. Like I'll just go through for the lead vocal. I'm probably just gonna add like a room, a plate, and then a hall, and then we'll go over that next week. And then I'm gonna just put the acoustic guitars in the same kind of reverb as the vocal, because for this song it's very much like guitar and vocal go hand in hand, and then the other elements are just really supporting the rest of the song. Well, if we don't have any questions,